What's going on, y'all? This is John Alsace with the Face Mask Podcast, and today I wanted to get into a backfield breakdown on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals backfield looks like this: Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, Travion Williams, Chris Evans, and Puka Williams. The Cincinnati Bengals selected Joe Mixon with the 48th overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. He stands at 6'1", 226 pounds. Over the course of his career since he's entered the league, he's averaged 1,091 yards and 6.3 touchdowns per season. In 2020, he was the RB10 in points per game, but he was an inconsistent week-to-week play, and a week 6 injury to his foot ended up costing him the rest of the season. As a result, Mixon has slid to dynasty running back 19 on average in one QB startup drafts, which is an all-time low since he entered the NFL. In Underdog Fantasy ADP, he currently sits at RB12, 15th overall. So while he's thought of a little bit higher in best ball season-long leagues and dynasty, he's borderline thought of as not a top 20 back. To answer that question, I think it's important to note that 2020 was the first year that Mixon did not play at least 14 games in his career. And in 2020, again, he was the RB10 in points per game. In 2019, he was the RB13 overall, and in 2018, he was the RB10 overall. He's been a borderline RB1 option for the majority of his career, and now he's not playing with Gio Bernard. Gio Bernard is gone, so he has less competition for targets and rushes than he's ever had. Gio Bernard averaged 52 targets in each of his 4 seasons that he shared the backfield with Joe Mixon. Those are 52 targets that now get distributed among the running backs that are there. Now, coach speak is coach speak, but Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan has been adamant that Joe Mixon will stay on the field as much as possible this season after the departure of pass-catching specialist Gio Bernard. He has come out and said, and I quote, he doesn't want Joe Mixon to leave the field on third downs, and he thinks he's up for that challenge, end quote. That's great news. It's great news because it was the one thing that was, I think, keeping Joe Mixon from being thought of as a bona fide every week, every year RB1 option. Now, as for the guy that is filling the Gio Bernard role, Samaje Perine, he operated as the team's primary ball carrier for the final 2 weeks of 2020, and he averaged 6.6 yards per carry while doing it. It's pretty good. In a competitive week 16 game against Houston, it was Houston, but against Houston, he had 136 yards on 17 touches. Pretty good. Perine not only showed explosion and efficiency, he did it behind kind of a crappy O-line, and he did it largely without Joe Burrow. He's clear insurance for Mixon drafters, and I think he also makes sense if you're going the 0 RB drafting route. I don't recommend that, but he's a guy that you can go out and get because he's not currently valued anywhere near Gio was valued prior to moving on. Now, the fact that the Bengals technically had a need to fill at RB3, third down back, and didn't address it outside of a 6th rounder in Chris Evans and undrafted free agent Puka Williams, and it remains to be seen what they can bring to the table to the Bengals backfield now and in the future, especially with Travion Williams still on the roster and only 23 himself. But for me, it's all about Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine, and for the most part, it's all about Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a buy-in dynasty as an RB1 who currently sits at RB2 value. He's the guy that I went out and bought in one of my most important dynasty leagues, and Perine is the guy that I went out and got because he was on the waiver wires in pretty much every dynasty league that I was in. He's going to be the direct backup to Joe Mixon, and he deserves to be picked up. So if you can, do so. And if you have Mixon and you're looking to lock up his handcuff, Perine should be a very inexpensive option when judged against his peers, as he's only a year older than Tony Pollard. But go out and try to trade for Tony Pollard, and then go out and try to trade for Samaje Perine, who's cheaper. My point being, they hold similar value, so I would treat them similar in all formats. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think, like me, that Gio leaving signals RB1 value, clear-cut RB1 value for Joe Mixon? Or do you guys think we're going to see the same old inconsistent week-to-week play from Joe Mixon that ends up putting him somewhere on the running back 1, running back 2 borderline that we've seen him live at over the course of his career thus far? Do you guys think I'm underestimating or overestimating Samaje Perine or any of these other ancillary backs that they brought in via the draft? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. My name is John Alsace. Thank you for listening.